Okay, hi everybody. I'm filming in a new room today, but we're going to see how it goes. This is section 4.6. We have this section and one more before the end of the chapter. We're going to find the square and cube roots. So we're going to talk about what those are. And before I tell you about what a square root is, and I know you can see it here, write down these powers. These are squared. And when you square each one of them, 2 squared is 4. And 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. And 6 squared is 36. And the reason why I want to do this with you is because this square root, and if you read the definition, it says it's the opposite of squaring a number. And the square root, what I mean is if you take the square root of 4, this is the symbol. It's called the radical symbol. The square root of 4 means what number times itself will give me 4. And that's how we will get the 2 there. Where the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 gives me back the 5. Square root of 36 gives me 6. Okay. So that's what a square root is. It's one of 2 equal factors. And it's the opposite of squaring a number. Okay? And the symbol we use is called the radical sign. It looks like this and it has a line across it. Almost like a long division box. And it symbolizes you're taking the square root of a number. What number times itself gives you the number inside the radical symbol. Perfect squares of the integers. I expect that you memorize the first up to 10. Perfect square, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, and so on, all the way up to 10 times 10, 10 squared is 100. These are the perfect squares, and you should know when you take the square root of them, you're going to get an integer. Okay, no decimals. Key idea, put a big star, highlight this. Every positive number has both a positive and a negative square root. What that means is if I was taking the square root of 16, I know that 4 and 4 are equal 16. And I also know that negative 4 times negative 4 equals positive 16. Now generally, when they ask for both answers, we will put a positive negative sign outside the radical, so you know we're looking for both the positive and the negative square root. Okay, so let's do some problems. Part 1, finding square roots. The square root of 49, what number times itself gives me 49? That would be 7. That symbol is not out front, so I don't need to give the positive and the negative, I just give the positive one. This, notice the negative is outside here, so they're asking me what negative number will give you 16. 16, what times what? We just talked about it, is negative 4. This, they're asking number 3, they're asking for both the positive and the negative that will give you 100. That would be positive and negative 10. Okay, this is one to put a big star at. They're asking what number times itself will give you negative 49. This is not possible. You cannot have a number times itself that will give you a negative answer. Because a positive times a positive is a positive answer. And a negative times a negative is a positive answer. So there's no way to have a number times itself that will give you a negative. So this answer, not possible, the 0 with the slash through it. Okay, this is asking for the negative square root, the negative root of 81. That would be negative 9. Positive square root of 25 is 5. All right. Part 2, estimating square roots. In highlighting, I told you estimate by determining between which 2 consecutive, that means in a row, perfect squares the square root lies. So I listed out some perfect squares for you. And we're going to figure out between which 2 does 60 lie. All right, so if I was to do that, the square root of 60 is in between, it would fall right here, it would fall in between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. So then what you do is you decide which one it's closer to. Well, this is only 4 away, and this is much further away, so it's closer to 64. And 64 equals 8. So the approximation of the square root of 60 would be approximately, and the symbol we would use, we say that this is approximately 8. So we're estimating that it's close to 8, somewhere around there. It's a little bit under 8 because we know that 60 is less than 64. Square root of 14, where does that lie? Okay, well that would be in between 9 and 16, and it's closer to 16 because it's only 2 away from 16, where it's 5 away from 9. So it's closer to 16, which means it's approximately 4. These ones are just negative. It's the same exact thing, except now we're just going to give the negative answer to it. So the square root of 23 would be in between 16 and 25, closer to 25. So we would say that this is approximately negative 5. Okay, negative square root of 79. 79 would fall in between 64 and 81, closer to 81. Just so happens all of these have been closer to the higher number. And so you're going to say that this is approximately negative 9. All right, last part is cube roots. Cube roots, like square roots, mean what two numbers are going to equal, what two numbers multiplied times itself. This is what number multiplied times itself 3 times. So one of 3 equal factors, and every integer has exactly 1 cube root. You cannot have more than one answer because of the positive and negative answers. So if you have a positive number, it will be a positive answer. If you have a negative number, you will get a negative answer, and the cube root of 0 is 0. So copy all that down. I'll do a few examples, and that's it for today. The symbol for this, if we want anything other than a square root, we have to put the number here. This means the cube root of 8. So what number times itself is going to give me, times itself 3 times will give me 8. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. The answer there would be 2, sorry. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. This one, what number? 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, and this one will be 4. I will show you the calculations using a calculator, and we will do a ton more in school. So that's it for today. Have a good one.